Yo, I get okay. I hope not too many people going. I think I might have messed up. So what happened was I had another program, FL Studios, on I had FL Studios on in the background of my live stream, and apparently that was using up the using up the interface. Oh man, yeah, I've never had this happen before. Just to be clear, like, and I've had FL Studios on at the same time. I think it was my fault. All right, let me add FatBoy. Yo, can you hear me? Okay, I can't hear you. I still can't hear you. Hold on, let me check the settings. So yeah, I was having problems. Nah, yeah, that's it, right? The audio interface. Damn. So I got to go back through the whole stick. This is like a perfect. This is exactly why I'm leaving for a little bit. This is why like the show's on hiatus for a little bit. Cause hold on,
Check,
wait.
check, check. Can you hear
Okay,
me?
I can hear you. Yep.
So
We
this is the laptop mic. I don't know why this part was.
yeah. I'm not too sure what's going on with your regular mic, but
All right. Is that loud enough? I don't know. Can you hear me good or is
I
it
can
low?
hear you. It's a little fuzzy sounding though.
Okay. Yeah, I don't like this.
Yeah, I appreciate your patience. I appreciate your patience, Megan. Cause yeah, like literally, if you was here last week, the week before, any other time, this has never happened. So I am just like, yo, what is going on? This is a sign from God that you're burnt out and you need a break. That's exactly why like this is the last episode for a good little bit because I'm a little burnt out and I'm not and I'm obviously not in the best frame of mind right now. Yes, I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate you sticking with me because yeah, it's been a day. So yeah, while Fat Boy is still getting his mic together, we gonna pull up this clip again because I don't think anybody heard it. Yeah, so let me pull up this clip. So yeah, like I was trying to say in the other one, in the other video. So, and I'm glad I remembered the timestamp.
Check.
Oh wait, we can hear you a little bit.
What we got? Come on.
Yeah, I can hear you. Hey, yo, it said, Fat Boy, since you can hear me, I'm about to play this clip real quick. Once you get your mic together, and then I'll get your thoughts on it.
Okay. Check. Can you hear
Yep,
me?
I get you.
Okay. Man. Okay. So the mic was my fault. Alright. See if I can get it a little
Yeah,
closer
man,
here.
it's a lot of technical issues for some reason today. Like it's just that day. It's just.
Yeah.
But what's up,
I guess it
man?
just be like that sometimes.
Yeah, what's
You
up,
know.
man? How you living?
I'm good, man. I'm about like you. Like I'm looking forward to a break, but I still got probably like another. I probably got another solid month before mine is gonna happen. So
Oh yeah, cause you got the album dropping.
yeah, that's dropping Friday, and then I got a couple more show dates, and Then I'm looking for. It's gonna be October before I'm really shutting it down for the holiday season.
I feel that, man. Yeah, like I know how the album rollout go. I've been
Hmm.
going hard since April when I put
You
my
know
joint
it.
out. So it's like, all right, now I need to sit down a little bit. Yeah, cause like what happened was I had cause while we were waiting on the show to start, I'm working on some beats and stuff like that. And I'm like, all right, I was working on something last night and I was mixing it. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna tweak a little bit because I had a couple of ideas, but I left it on in the back, and apparently that was taking up the
The
driver
sound
for the
card.
audio. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I had no idea. So not only could I not hear you, but the audience couldn't hear me, and I've been like yapping for like 20 minutes.
One of them days, man.
What's up, man? It's your boy Viddy Dangerous. I'm gonna do the intro all over again. It's your boy
Okay.
Viddy Dangerous, back again with another installment, the last installment of 1430 for a little bit. Not too sure when I'm gonna come back. Just need a little bit of a little break, sit down, give me a refresher. As you can see, I'm not on my A game because I'm a little burnt out. But we gonna get back. We gonna get back and we gonna get right. And I got the homie, the FatBoy, dropping his album. It could all be, it could all be so simple. It's
Hmm.
Friday, and he's got the release show in Greensboro.
Yeah. I'm excited, man. I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be a good time. I already know.
Yo, and I was like, because I was trying to figure out, we was messaging back and forth for the show, and I was like, what are we gonna talk about for the show? And this topic came up because me and you, we're getting older
Hmm.
as artists, and a lot of people look at rappers and age as a negative thing. Like you get to a certain age and then people start looking at it a little funny.
Yeah.
But the last few years, I think ever since Nas and Hit Boy had their run
Hmm.
and really showed like a rapper like 50 plus can still put out like amazing work and be put out some of the best work he's had in years. And then just like recently, we had Common and Pete Rock who put out a great album. Schoolboy Q who put out a great album, and like it's just the legends like LL Cool J is put out two singles and he's getting gearing up to put out an album himself, and
Common starting a new
everything is
run. I
amazing.
seen
Yeah,
I seen Common starting a new run.
yeah, like that album with him and Pete Rock is amazing. It's, so it's like and looking at it like that, how do we encourage our legends, like or just rappers who just a little bit more seasoned? They still have stuff to give, but we need to be able to put like kind of put them in, not necessarily in a box, but like in their own lane, in their own space, so they
Right.
don't have to compete with the 16-year-old that just graduated, or the 21-year-old that's just really getting like their feet wet. Like they
Right.
shouldn't be
Right.
competing for the same space. And it was this. I tried to find the original. So I found the original video, but I can't find the original timestamp of this interview. So we're gonna be reacting to Curtis King reacting to
To
this
the okay
interview by Punch, or featuring Punch on the Mr. J Hill network. So
for sure.
this is what kind of sparked the idea of doing this podcast topic. So like we're gonna watch this, hear what he got to say, and you just kind of give your reaction.
For sure. Because I watched it a little bit earlier. I didn't get through the whole thing, but I definitely watched some of it earlier, and I like the topic.
Oh, for sure. All right, cool. Hold on, we're gonna play this now, and then we're gonna get some feedback. And then people in the chat, once we play this, kind of give us your thoughts on the idea of adult contemporary hip hop. How do you feel about it?
Point that I think is super valid, right? I know we got a lot of time on this clock, but I don't like that they categorize Don Toliver, A Boogie, Rowdy Rich, and they cloud these guys as rappers. They're not rappers, and they're not R&B singers. And this is not a diss. I think that we should make a genre for the people who do that. Young Blue.
Young Blue.
They are not R&B artists. They are not rappers. Why is it that our genre of hip hop continues to underserve our own music? Why don't, like how there's a soft rock, hard rock, alternative rock, contemporary rock, and regular pop rock? Why does that have so many sections and our genre doesn't? Why don't we put respect on our own genre? Why
like
don't
this.
we have what that would be?
I like this line of thinking because it once again.
Yo, I really like the point where he talks about, like, just the line that stuck out to me the most was how why don't we put our own, like, put respect in our own genre. Like, that really stuck out to me. But what's your thoughts? Like, what was your thoughts when you heard that?
So I really agree with it. I like the idea of, I don't like to use the word categorizing. You know what I mean? I don't like to really use that as a word, but I like the idea of, like you said, giving everybody kind of their own lane. This is a thought that I had, for a while, but this is the first time it's ever had like a title put on it, and it's kind of like a real discussion now. But I always kind of felt like hip hop kind of needed different subgenres. You know what I mean? And it wasn't even on no necessarily the young guys versus the older guys, for example. You know what I mean? I always felt like more so, you got trap rap, that should be a lane. And then you got, conscious rap, that should be a lane. And then like you should have different lanes for different types of rappers because, a backpack rapper ain't gonna get the same accolades from the same type of people as a trap rapper. You know what I mean? And so it just makes more sense to kind of separate them. But in the same sense, I see why they maybe haven't for so long, because in the beginning, hip hop was kind of fighting for a spot. You know what I mean? And so it kind of made sense to kind of keep everybody together because you wanted hip hop to get kind of overarching shine. But now that it's, the biggest, if not one of the biggest, because it has kind of dropped in popularity recently. But I believe it's still the biggest musical genre out there. So I feel like at this point, this would be a good time to kind of start, splitting the different lanes. And Future and Nas got two different fan bases altogether. Method Man, for example, which I think where a lot of this he was the catalyst at the Summer Jam. Yeah, so Method Man, I don't think should necessarily be sharing the same stage as Lil Durk. You know what I mean? So that I agree with the overarching. Some of the titles might be a little off for me, but I definitely agree with the overarching concept.
Yeah, and like I'm glad you brought up the Method Man thing because that was something I was thinking about earlier too. Because I actually did an episode about this a few weeks ago, with the whole Summer Jam fallout, and just this idea of like ageism and stuff in hip hop. Like I get in the beginning it was a young genre, it was brand new, so most of the time it was the kids or the young folks that was making the music. But now hip hop's been around so long that like, we got people like they got
legacy
kids,
acts.
Like we have legacy acts. We have people with kids and grandkids that grew up with hip hop and still love hip hop. It's like this is the stuff that I still want to see Method Man perform. I still want to see Nas perform. I still want to see the legacy acts perform. Like I don't want I know, right? It's been 50 years. Like at this point, and I argued this a few weeks ago, like hip hop can't even really be considered a young genre anymore. Like it's been half a century since hip hop has been around. Like so there's people that were born the year hip hop was created, like founded, that are in their midlife now.
Right.
So it's like you can't really call it a subgenre, like a young genre anymore. And I think the idea of having, because I know you said you don't like categorizing stuff. But
I guess I don't like the word categorize. It just sounds like divide and conquer a little bit. I don't know. Just in my head, that might be a personal thing.
Yeah, because like I know people kind of like they don't like the idea of like putting labels on certain things, but I think that's where a lot of this stuff gets mixed up. Because I thought about Tyler like a few years ago. He won Best Rap Album, the Grammy for Igor, and Igor wasn't a rap album. It was more of a pop, more singing than rapping on the album. And he called out the Grammys for that. And then they ended up creating another category, melodic rap. And like kind of in response to that.
Yeah.
But
what stood out to me, my fault.
No, go ahead.
what stood out to me that Punch was talking about was how, first of all, how they, basically created a new category for Afrobeats recently.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Which kind of shows that you can do it. It can be done. It's not gonna be some years long process to make it
Mm-hmm.
happen. You know what I mean? But then at the same time, on the flip side of it, there's young people. That's why I kind of, to combat the ageism of it. There are young people that do like Method Man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There are 20-year-olds that rock with the locks. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So I feel like it's the same instance. You want to give them that same lane too. Like, even though they're not 50 years old and they haven't been here since the beginning of hip hop, but they still appreciate the old school, the legacy acts, and
Mm-hmm.
still give them a chance to be like, okay, yeah, my favorite artist. I'm 19 years old, and my favorite artist happened to be Erica Badu. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Let's give her a category, or let's put her in a genre or a subgenre or a class or whatever you want to call it, so that this person that's a fan of her can also have a chance to vote, cheer, you know what I mean, all that good
Mm-hmm.
stuff, celebrate. The same way that I don't know, I don't want to say 6ix9ine. He ain't necessarily popping no more, but I mean,
Yeah,
like
I mean, I get what you mean.
yeah, you know
Like,
what I mean, like the newer acts, because it's
mm-hmm.
kind of like you rotate out the older acts, or how it's been up until recently. You rotate out the older acts for the newer acts, but we starting to find out that the older acts is the ones that's not necessarily rotating. Like, that longevity is really Eminem drop a new album, and even though he ain't everybody favorite, bruh still do numbers every time he drop. You know what I
Yeah, I
mean?
think I saw he got like the largest rap debut all
Yeah,
year. And
and
it's
they ain't
crazy
even
to think
really
that it's
been out
somebody
there
that's
like
been
that.
out, somebody that's been out as long as he has been. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and still, and like, it's artists like him, artists like, Kendrick, artists that's been around like 10 plus years, and they're consistently outselling the new acts
Yeah,
now. And that this might be a first, like, in the history of hip hop when you really think about it, like, where majority of the top selling songs, albums of the year are from acts that would be considered, legacy or close to legacy acts, like they're veterans at the very
mm-hmm.
least. And like one of
we
the like, because I think, one of the points that he made that really stuck out was the idea that, like, a Jay-Z shouldn't be competing for the same Billboard spot as Ice Spice,
mm-hmm.
or like a young artist. They're not even going after the same demographics
Right.
with this way. And that, like, because not only just like with the listeners, but there are young kids that want to rap, want to do boom bap. They don't want to do
Yeah.
what, the people in their age group are doing, like, as far as like the norm. They're not doing Playboy Cardi. They're not doing rage music, or trap music, or drill, or none of that stuff. They want to do what the old school artists did,
Mm-hmm.
and they should be able to compete in that lane. They should be able to compete
Yeah.
in that lane. They shouldn't have to go on, like, be fighting for that number one spot in the same category as, like, guys that don't sound nothing like them, and their fans don't listen to anything like that.
Yeah. But ultimately, I kind of think, specifically talking about the award shows, especially watching the last few of them and the BET Awards and seeing clips and stuff from that,
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to feel like maybe award shows is going out the door. And a lot of it, I feel like, it's because of the subgenres. Like, they're not recognizing the subgenres,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of subgenres in hip hop. You know what I mean? Like, there's I think that's part of the reason why now you get people winning Grammys that you haven't heard of. You know what I mean? Like, it used to
Mm-hmm.
be when somebody won a Grammy, it was like Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston. You know what I mean? Somebody that was
Mm-hmm.
huge. You know what I mean? But now you got somebody. To this day, I do not know who Robert Glasper is. You know what I mean? But he beat out Chris Brown for the Grammy that
Mm-hmm.
couple years ago.
Oh, Robert Glasper is
So
amazing. Yeah, you should check him out
yeah,
when you get a chance, man.
I've heard that. People have told me that, like, yo, bro is nice, bro. He,
Yeah.
he earned that. You know what I mean?
Now,
So
yeah, I was about to say, I could tell you, I listened to both those albums. Robert Glasper, it was well deserved. He definitely
right.
deserved that award. I think I think when you really think about it, it's a divide. Like, usually back in the day, when you're talking about, like, with the Whitneys and the Michael Jacksons, popularity also equaled talent, also equaled
Exactly.
quality. Like, all of that was, like, kind of linked, because everybody was, in their artistry was competing to be the best. Now the most popular artist isn't necessarily the most talented artist. Isn't
Yeah.
necessarily the most polished or like, that entertaining. Like they're just, there's other ways to be popular now
Yeah.
outside of the music. Like there's people who are creating music after becoming like a socialite or an influencer on TikTok or Instagram. Like that wasn't their first thought, but it's like I already have the audience. I might as well pick up a microphone and do this. That's not what it was back in the day. So I
Or
think
like
that's where
even
the
the ones,
disconnect is.
yeah, or even the ones where I've seen where like it'll be a comedian YouTuber or something, and they'll do a funny song for one of their YouTube videos, but people will like the song, so now they done dropped it on Spotify, and that's a whole nother
Hmm.
song on Spotify, and they doing numbers off of that. So it's that's kind of why I feel like the whole conversation about the subgenres and everything, it needs to be had because it's already happening. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? There's already, melodic wave hip hop. You know what I mean? You got the kind of sad emo hip hop. You got like alternative hip hop. You still got indie hip hop, which indie
Yeah.
underground hip hop. So there's a lot of different
There's like
subgenres that they could really
trap,
dig
there's
into.
rage, there's drill,
Drill,
there's
yeah,
boom bap, conscious can be its
yeah,
own like subgenre. There's like we have those subgenres, but when you look at Billboard or you look at the Grammys or you look at all these other places, whether award shows or the charts, like you can look at rock music for example. Like they have different charts for different types of rock music. So
mm-hmm,
the people like Creed isn't competing with ACDC.
yeah.
Like on the same, they're not really fighting for the same chart position. But like hip hop, we're all bunched up in just one space.
Now Curtis King mentioned something about that. And that went in the punch talking about how we don't respect our own genre and everything. But Curtis King also went into the fact of how that's also proof that the powers that be don't respect the genre
Mm-hmm.
because they're just like, oh, this it's all hip hop. They all rapping. It's all just rhyming words together. We don't need to separate it into various categories. It's all just rap. You know what I mean?
Like
So
he was naming people like Don Tolliver and
yeah,
like PNB Rock and people like that. And I'm
Roddy
like,
Rich and
yeah, Roddy Rich. Like you really think about it, they ain't spit a bar in a
yeah,
single song. It's just like melodic crooning with auto
yeah,
tune. But like, why are they considered hip hop?
yeah.
Like why are they put in that category? Like just because it's not traditional singing, so it must be hip hop.
Hip hop, exactly. And it's kind of like hip hop is just kind of the catch all basket. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If you rhyming words together and it got a beat behind it, we just gonna call it hip hop. It's not quite pop, it's hip hop. It ain't quite country, it must be hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I feel like that goes back to the respect thing because it's like,
And it's funny because country music now, like they use trap beats
yeah,
and they stuff.
yeah,
Like
everything
I'm at
is
the
hip hop.
dentist. Yeah, I was like I'm at the dentist this week, and like I'm hearing, I don't know, it's like Toby Keith or somebody. It was somebody on there, and it's like a trap. Like it sounds like a trap drums and 808s and stuff. You just hear
Snare
like the
rolls and shit.
snare rolls.
Yeah,
You just hear like the country instrumentation on top of it, and I'm like, yo, that it's crazy how they could get away with that and it still be considered what it is. And it'll
hmm
be, they might even have like a trap country, but they'll make sure to not label it rap. But
right,
because it's I mean, let's be honest. If you urban, if you black, then they automatically put you in the hip hop or R&B category, even if
yeah, yeah,
you're 100% pop or you're 100% rock or whatever it is. Like when you're black and it's not traditional, they still gonna lump you into one of those two categories. Just depends on which of them we can get away with. Like I was thinking when you brought up the BET Awards, I was talking to my wife about it. Like I think the BET Awards, because of this lack of being able to distinguish between the young and the old, like I think our award shows suffer because we kind of have an identity crisis.
yeah.
Like I'm thinking, like
And
why is Taraji P Henson hosting the BET Awards, but y'all have the show like geared towards all these young people? Like Taraji
right.
is still out here doing her thing, but she's not necessarily connecting to the younger demographic like that. But y'all want to like try to grab this younger audience, but y'all don't want to get out of like the old way of doing things at the same time. So it comes off a little lackluster. That was my
And it's
thought. Like
and
when
I
watching the
feel
show.
and I feel like that's kind of a symptom of all of media right now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like the newer generations and the newer content and everything is still trying to kind of find this way. So everybody's still leaning on the older stuff. You know what I mean? You get a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
same older IPs. You still getting Batman movies. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? They just dropped the Beetlejuice movie. They dropping like Hocus Pocus 2, and you know what I mean? You're getting a lot of
Mm-hmm.
IP reboots and all of that because
Yeah, that's true.
while they trying to figure out, what the newer generation is gonna do, while DC Young Fly trying to do the new How High, you know what I mean, figure out what we gonna do with it. A lot of people are still leaning on, okay, well, Hocus Pocus did numbers in Halloween back in the '90s. Let's go ahead and bring that back and try to.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's a lot of what we getting out of music as well, where it's like the newer artists, dope as they are. I'm not gonna lie, I hear a lot of new dope artists, but they still trying to find their way. They trying to figure out what we're gonna do with the genre. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
honestly a lot of the changes in the genre and everything are still very new. You know what I mean? Hip
Yeah.
hop is starting to lose some footing. CD sales and physical media sales, even though they starting to rise a little bit, they still nowhere near where they used to be back in the day.
Oh yeah.
And so with with streaming and social media and all that coming into the landscape of music and everything, I think a lot of people, major league, underground artists, everybody is trying to find out how to make this work
Yeah.
to the best of their ability. And in the meantime, we still getting appearances by Juvenile, by NC Light. We
Mm-hmm.
still getting appearances by Scarface, Method Man, and Redman. You know what I mean? And they're not gonna be around forever, but right now you still leaning on that because it's familiar. You know what I mean? You know they
Mm-hmm.
gonna sell. You know when Nas drop, people gonna buy it. You know when Eminem drop, people gonna buy it. And you're not so sure that when Sexy Red dropped, that everybody gonna buy it. You know what I mean? Because you
Yeah.
see all the stuff about her tours is, and Lil Baby tours, and you see a lot of that stuff. And so
Like
I feel
I
like
had
the
the
younger
argument
gen.
with, I had that argument because you see, like when you will look at streaming numbers a lot, and they say like the most streamed stuff consistently is stuff that came out pre-streaming,
Mm-hmm.
like music. Like you would think, like if the newer generation didn't care about this older music, then why are and they're the biggest consumers of like they're the
Of music.
biggest audience base on Spotify and all the other streaming platforms, especially Spotify. I don't know about other streaming platforms, but they're like the biggest. That 18 to 24,
24.
25.
Yeah.
They're the biggest consumer, subscription base, and they're streaming the classic stuff more than they're streaming the stuff that's coming out in their generation. But they're trying to convince us that nobody cares about the older acts. They don't care about people of a certain vintage, but like the numbers show differently.
And I think they're trying to make it seem like nobody cares about the older acts because first of all, they know the older acts ain't gonna be around for forever. First of all, forever. Let's be real, but much longer. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And with that being said, you kind of need that constant. Hip hop has always kind of thrived on that constant flow of new acts, young acts. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
By the time NWA is aging out, we starting to get the Hot Boys and No Limit in there. You know what I mean? By the
Mm-hmm.
time they aging out, we starting to get Migos in them. There's always been a constant stream of new acts that was kind of required by the industry in order to keep it going. You know what I mean? And now that more people, like you said, even younger people are starting to get more onto the older acts, and it's getting harder for the younger acts because, like everybody's been saying, Taylor Swift is still the last, major league, big time, worldwide celebrity. You know what I mean? It's been a little while since she dropped, and so
Oh, she dropped this year.
no, I mean it's been a little while since she came out. That's what I
Oh
meant.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like when
Okay.
she first, when she first debuted. And since then we haven't, we still have stars, we still have celebrities, we still have new people coming out. But somebody with that kind of influence, like a Ed Sheeran, like a Taylor Swift, like a Drake, they're not coming like they used to. You know what I
Well,
mean? That
I
used to be,
my theory is that streaming is the problem.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
most of the acts that are like the big, like I know social people say social media. Social media had a little bit of part to it because we when you have unlimited access to somebody, they do not feel like larger than life anymore.
yeah.
So
I
it's
feel like
like
you lose some value that
yeah.
way. You know what I mean?
But streaming, I feel like that's completely devalued the music. Like people stream the older stuff because that was the music they grew up on at a time where people still cared about music enough to go to the store to buy it.
Yeah.
So there was a certain level of like I care about this enough to get in my car, get on the bus or whatever, go to the store, stand in line, like check out, pay my money for it, 12, 15,
Yeah.
sometimes $20, and like I'm riding with it. Now it's
And
like
don't even know what's on the album past the couple singles you done heard. You know what I
exactly
mean?
like versus now, like I can have an album. Like there's been plenty of times, unconsciously, like there'll be an album I'm looking forward to, and it finally drop. I listen to it a few times. I mean, I'm listening to it basically all week until the next rotation comes out, and I'm like
Yeah.
tossing it because now it's like it's as simple as just downloading it. I pay $10
Yeah.
a month. I can listen to an unlimited amount of money, and I feel like having there's that saying like too much of a good thing
Good.
can
Yeah.
go bad, like, and I feel like that's what it is. Like we have access to all the music that has ever existed to a certain extent. Like there's certain stuff that ain't available. Well, for the most part, almost
Right.
everything is there. It's starting to feel less special when you have just everything at your fingertip.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. And what kind of reinforced that for me, I got gifted a record player recently. So I just started um, getting into, buying vinyl albums. And I realized the usage of them is a lot different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you get that album and you put that thing on the record player. And honestly, the record player don't switch automatically. You know what I mean? There's no, I think
Yeah.
you can buy something for that, but like naturally it don't just do that. So you gonna wind up kind of just replaying that album, you know what I mean, over and over
Mm-hmm.
for a while. You're gonna learn some of the words, you're gonna read the lyrics on the little package and everything. Like,
Yeah.
and then when you just even though you use it the same, like the music's playing in the background while I'm scrolling my phone or something anyway. But
Mm-hmm.
it feels like a part of the room. It feels like an
Yeah.
ambiance in the room rather than just something coming out the speaker, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So
Oh yeah.
the usage is a lot different. You kind of had to value music a little bit more back then because you go and you buy $25, $30, $40 record. You know what I mean? You got to cherish it because if you scratch it, it's fucked up. If you break it, it's fucked up. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? If you lose it, you don't put it up properly, whatever the case may be. So you had to value it. And then you listen to it and you listen to it over and over. And even if you start out, you might just like that one song, two songs you heard on the radio, but next thing you know, you done picked up a couple of the songs on the B side, and now you're a little more interested in what they mean by that line and da da da. And you just, I don't know, you just don't get that kind of connection anymore. By the time you, like you said, by the time you hear a song, by the time you hear an album, you might bump it for a week, and then the next joint coming out, and then the next joint coming out half a week before, you know what I mean? And so you ain't even really caught on to the first one, and it really makes it easy to be like, you know what I mean? I'll catch the next one, or the last one won't all that. Let me wait 2 weeks, and then he gonna drop another joint anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I agree with you that streaming really. I think it was originally supposed to just kind of be a stopgap between pirating
Mm-hmm.
and artists getting paid, and I really feel like the execution just went off
Mm-hmm.
totally wrong. I don't think they really put as much thought into it as they should have. And honestly, I feel like the artists didn't put as much thought into it because we were just so happy that we can get paid now for our work instead of them
Mm-hmm.
bootlegging it and pirating it and da 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 da. But we didn't think about how much are we really gonna get paid per listen? How can you quantify how much one listen of a song is?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I don't know. I feel like I don't know. The execution just it went wrong, man.
Yo, I've said this to people and they thought I was crazy. I feel like I valued music more when it was bootlegged
Mm-hmm.
than on streaming because
Yep.
there was still a certain level of effort that you had to put in to find like the right copy of the album. Like sometimes you get a bootleg and it's out of order, or
Yep.
the some songs is missing, so you still ain't getting the full like experience. But there was a certain level of like, yo, you had to search the web, you had to search the internet to get finally get the real one. Now, like I feel like that I mean, I know it's not beneficial to the artist, but I think as a listener, I valued those songs, like those albums on a bootleg, like a bootlegging it from a site or something, or buying it from a bootleg up the street. I value that more than I value than like what we got on streaming now, like how
For
that's done.
sure. For sure. And I think that's you still own that. Like even though it was bootleg and you
Yeah,
ain't necessarily pay for it, you still owned it. Like you had it on CD, and as
yeah,
long as you carried that CD, you had it, and you didn't have to worry about them remastering it 16 times. And you didn't have to worry about taking it down offline. And oh well, we decided to do a remix with Ice Spice, so this is the only copy that you can get now. We done took down the
mm-hmm,
original type. Like you ain't got to worry about it. I got a copy of Green Day Dookie. You know what I
mm-hmm,
mean? Because I wanted that since when it first came out, and I was a kid, and I finally got it. And now I'm like, I'm gonna take care of it, and I'm gonna listen to it and spin it and put it back in the sleeve and read the little
mm-hmm.
lyrics. And all this. I mean, it's different, man. And I feel like maybe we just grew up different, but at the same time, I see a lot of the younger generation like really starting to get into that. They really
Yeah.
starting to look for stuff like that. You want bonus content, you want commentary and behind the scenes and outtakes and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yo, like Megan in the chat, she was saying like the feeling of like when you got DJ mixtapes that you had to go directly to the DJ for.
Yeah.
Man, matter of
And
fact,
some of them
I
joints
got a
might be leaks.
yeah, or like they tracks that are like unreleased, so they wasn't
Yeah.
coming out on an album or a single or anything. Like they were just like unreleased joints they got directly from the studio. Like,
Mm-hmm.
uh, so I was thinking about this, right? So one of the pushbacks that people got with this whole adult contemporary hip hop thing was that they don't like the idea. Because matter of fact, I'm gonna pull up the comment because I actually got it saved.
Okay.
And I thought it was an excellent point that it could cause because with any of this stuff, like there is cause for concern when you start to do stuff like this. So
That's
I
true.
get the hesitation, but a
It's
few
like I was
people,
saying about the execution. Like it sounds good in theory and it makes sense. And yeah, we can do it. And then, 10 years down the line, how's it really gonna look? You know what I
hmm
mean?
so it's like so in this one it's like yours not yours on Threads, which I love Threads, by the way. That's like my favorite.
Yeah,
It's like my favorite like text app right now. But really feeling the resistance to Common and Pete Rock's album being called adult contemporary hip hop. It low key feels like they're saying this is hip hop's elevator music. I'm not
That's
sure
how I
about
felt.
that. Yeah, like
That's how
and
I felt.
I get his point. Like I commented on it because I basically I feel what he's trying to say. Like, and I did kind of I don't know. Like I don't think old is a bad word because we all get older. Like it's a thing that's just inevitable. There's not enough money. You can't make enough money or be healthy or whatever. There's nothing you can do to stop aging. Like it's just a part of life.
Right.
So old isn't a bad thing, but I don't know. I just kind of felt like when I heard adult contemporary hip hop, my first thought was, y'all trying to say this is old people hip hop, or uh, this isn't for the younger generation. It's like tucked off to the side. Like this isn't the popping stuff. This isn't what you should be paying
Yeah.
attention to. This is just some kind of like thing off to the side. But the more I thought about it, like why not? Because there are because all I keep thinking about is our legends that probably did feel like an Andre 3000 who felt like they were too old to rap, so they stopped. Like, and we never got a full album from him, or they just stopped making music altogether because oh well, I keep hearing that hip hop is a young man's sport, so I'm gonna bow out. And there's so many classics we could have gotten if they had something like adult contemporary hip hop that made
Yeah.
them feel like, oh, I'm still welcomed into the genre. Like people still want to hear what I got to say.
But connotation matters. You know what I mean? Like when I hear the term adult contemporary, yeah, you're gonna think grocery store music. You know what I mean? You're gonna think elevator music. So but I think that's kind of like a personal thing. I think like you could call it something different besides adult contemporary. We could come up with some kind of different moniker for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I try not to get too tripped up in that because we don't have to call it adult contemporary and keep them
Yeah.
connotations. But yeah, that was like the first thing I thought. It was like adult contemporary hip hop. I like the idea of the categories and the genres, the subgenres and everything. But let's work on that. Let's workshop the titles because the adult contemporary just has that connotation to it, just has that stigma to it, that sound to it. I hear, and it's not just for hip hop. If you think adult contemporary rock, you know what I mean? You thinking like, some softer stuff that you could hear, maybe at Walmart. You thinking, but what's crazy is, and I was talking to one of my friends about this. What's crazy is a lot of the songs you can hear at Walmart now would have been banned on the radio in 1992.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's like that's a chance like you could blur the lines even.
So
You know what I
even with
mean?
that though, you can kind of see that, oh well, this music, like this really wouldn't be something that my parents would listen to. Like if you're
Right.
kind of looking at it like that, because like when they were coming up, this stuff wouldn't have been allowed on the radio, let alone over a convenience store,
Right.
speakers or something like that. Like so, even in that thought, it's like yeah, it's adult contemporary hip hop, but it's like we're the adults now. So this is
Yeah.
this is what we consider like adult contemporary. So it's still us at the end of the day. It's not like
Right.
oh well we're like putting mothballs and like old people cologne on it or nothing like that. Like it's still us. Like it's still us that
Right.
are enjoying it. And I don't know. I just kind of like. I mean, maybe not. It don't have to be called adult contemporary hip hop.
Right. That's why I try not to get
But-
tripped up in the title.
But like, I like the idea of saying we have a place. We have a place where our legends can come out and they can compete with each other. They don't necessarily have to compete with the young folks
Exactly.
on the same chart position. Matter of fact, damn, I had another point. I can't remember now. But that was what I was gonna say. I actually like the idea of it too. One of the things that really stuck out to me when I was thinking about it more was like a lot of the divide between the older and younger generation could be quelled if we had these others like subgenres that were like properly segmented. Like,
Yeah.
because there's people like I stopped speaking on rap that I didn't like because somebody likes it. And you one, like the way the algorithm works and stuff. Like whether it's good or bad, if you're talking about it, that's what they care about. They care about if you like. And so even if you want this person to go away, talking bad about them all day on the internet is actually doing the opposite because you're making sure their name gets heard more and more. Like
The internet is about attention. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The internet don't care. Well, social media specifically
Mm-hmm.
is about attention. They don't care where the attention is coming from. They don't care who the attention is on. They don't care as long as you keep them on the platform. You know what I mean? We'll talk about whoever, whoever
Mhm.
did what, when, where, why, how, good, bad, or ugly. As long as they keeping you scrolling and commenting, you know what I mean? So that's where that goes.
Yeah, and like you're like, dang, why isn't such and such being highlighted more? Well, it's like, bro, because you spend all day talking about the rappers you don't like instead of
Yeah.
talking about the rappers you do rock with and that do deserve the attention. Like if they're so underrated, elevate them and not talk about the people you would actually prefer to not be around anymore. But
Yeah.
another thing is that to a certain extent, like everything isn't supposed to be made for me. Like I think we had to be like I had to get to wrap my head around that. I might think this is whack as hell, but there are like millions of other people that really do like this. Like so, even if I'm not a fan of it, and if you ask
Somebody
me directly, I'm gonna be honest, like if
Mhm.
how I feel about it. But at the end of the day, it does have a right to exist.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that the idea of having like, oh well, like on the billboard, like we have boom bap here, we have rage here, we have trap here, like or however they decide to segment it. Okay, cool. You're like, yo, this is y'all can argue amongst yourselves with these rappers that y'all listen to, like under this certain subgenre of hip hop. Y'all can
And it makes
argue
the
about them,
conversation.
and then y'all can leave me out of it. That's
Right.
why I'm like, okay, that would be that's one thing that this kind of thinking could help, like kind of quell that divide between the older and the younger generation.
I totally agree because it would make the conversation make more sense too. So when you talking about, for example, the Grammys, you know what I mean, just staying with that. When you talk about that and you say, yeah, E40 is, in the category up against Juvenile and they got new music and da da da, it makes sense. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, and honestly, Juvenile and E40 got two different styles. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But you can hear where they got some similarities. You know what I mean? Where they have some they have a sound that resonates with me and you, or with
Mm-hmm.
people our age or our peer group. And so it would make more sense in that conversation versus, yeah, Juvenile just dropped a new track and Eminem just dropped a new track, but also,
Like
Lil
Cardi
Durk just dropped
B.
a new track, Cardi B, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah. And so you competing now, they got way different styles, you know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
Juvenile and E40 was different enough, but they at least come from that same era where it makes sense. But Juvenile and Cardi B ain't even on the same wavelength. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
E40 and Ice Spice ain't even
Not
Too
even on
Short
same.
and Sexy Red. They not even on the same ballpark. You know what I mean? So to put them
Mm-hmm.
in the same category is kind of a travesty. And I like how Punch put it. He didn't make it just seem like it's a travesty for the older heads. Da 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 da. He was like, nah, because how you gonna be a new cat that just came out? You 19 years old. You just dropping your first album this year in 2024, and you going up against Nas. Man,
Mm-hmm.
you ain't got a chance. You know what I mean?
Or like
So,
Kendrick drops another album, because everybody's looking forward to that album after the beef. Like,
right,
you a young, you're like, auto tune crooner and stuff. Like, bro, you have no chance
right.
to, like, you want to hit number one, but you have no chance when somebody like that drops the same day you drop.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's basically, even though it's the same genre, it's two different, totally different sounds,
Mm-hmm.
demographics. The people that listen to Kendrick, even though not like us, is basically banging worldwide. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Everybody don't listen to it. Like he's got his core people that once this died down, they still gonna be rocking with, Mr. Morale, and they still gonna be rocking with the Pimp a Butterfly, even though
Mm-hmm.
he ain't the media baby. You know what I mean? At the
Yeah.
time, so you're really doing a travesty to them too. The diehard fans is there because okay, he pop, and because the 23-year-olds in the club fuck with Not Like Us. You know what I mean? It might be a little inflated, but he still got a diehard fan base. Like let's not cloud over them with the new
Mm-hmm.
people that's just here for the one or two songs. And I feel like it does a disservice to the diehard fan bases too to kind of just lump them all in. You know what I mean?
And even when you doing them, like when you segment it up, like you were talking about with like Juvie and E40, for example, like that. Even when you like break them up like that, it's still diverse enough to where like, oh, okay, well, like I can argue with an E40 fan as a Juvie fan,
Yeah,
and we can have a conversation, and it'll be about two artists with totally different styles and totally different identities, but they're in the same ballpark as far as like time frame that they came out,
mm-hmm.
like their legacies, like they're alike enough to where the competition makes sense
Right.
versus, and it's still diverse enough, and I think it definitely shows like the range of hip-hop like a lot more, because I think it opens the door for other artists to kind of get highlighted a little bit more. There are like
Yeah.
artists that are like in the industry that's doing great work, but because they're so because everybody's lumped into just hip-hop on the charts, they don't even get a chance to chart at all. And
Yeah.
now it's like, okay, we can open the doors up for like other artists that are talented, that are do putting in work, and could really be something, if connecting to somebody, if they had room to breathe in like this just crowded singular category.
Yeah. Yeah. And so yeah, I agree with all that. You know what I mean? It's just it makes more sense all the way around. I think for me, the drawbacks is when you think about it, like how can you can always twist stuff. You know what I mean? Like it
Mm-hmm.
starts out with noble purposes. It starts out, with a just cause, but it could get twisted. And so I try to kind of think about that down the line too. Like it sounds great now, but what happens when they start like you still miscat because it happens with rock, for example. You know what I mean? Like you might have
Mm-hmm.
a band that they sound punk. You know what I mean? You think they a punk rock band. Everybody in they diehard fans consider them a punk band, but they got them labeled as a metal band. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Now, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not super versed in like I like rock music, I like metal music, but I'm not like super versed in it like I am with hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, punk and metal, yeah, they have distinct sounds, but to me they would sound very similar. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Me being more of a layman, I guess, in that area. And so I kind of get it, but at the same time, that's why I feel like it's an insult to the people that really listen to it. Because imagine me saying, "Oh, all rock is just rock," and I don't even listen to it enough to make that kind of distinction. You know what I mean? Even though I do listen to it, let me not act like I only listen to hip hop, but because I do hip hop, that's my lane. Like that's what I'm familiar with. That's what I grew up on. That's what I flock to. But you know, they definitely miss genre sometimes, so I can see that being a drawback later on. I can also see them, like you kind of alluded to earlier, kind of prioritizing one genre over
Yes.
another, to where okay, this is adult contemporary hip hop, so we're not gonna give them as much shine. You know what I mean? So then you kind of get the same problem that you got now, where it's like you got legacy acts that's killing it, but you still kind of brushing them to the side. Oh, you too old, da 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 da. And I feel like adult contemporary could maybe give them a category to just pay attention to look at and be like, okay, we don't got to put that much into this category. You know what I mean? We can focus a little bit more on the new hip hop or the best new album or the something like that. And so I feel like there's ways that it could backfire. I definitely like the idea of it currently. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've always, like, for a long time now, I felt like hip hop already has subgenres. Hip hop already has niches within the genre. They're just not being recognized. They're just not being put out there because people already say he a trap rapper. They already say Future is a trap rapper. They already say um um Chief Keef is a drill rapper. You know what I mean? We already got subgenres. We don't just say they're a rapper. This person's a rapper. That's a rapper. We're a rapper. And then you got some rappers that don't even claim rapper. I'm a lyricist. I'm an MC. You know what I mean? So I feel
Well,
like
that's
that kind of
corny.
stuff.
I hate when
Yeah.
people do that because you a rapper, bro. Like I feel like when people say that, they don't really know they don't really understand like the role of a rapper, of an MC. Like it's all the same. Like it's basically like saying the difference between a janitor and a custodian. Like it's the same job. It's just you want to try to make one seem better than the other, but in reality, it's all the same thing. It's all under the same umbrella of hip hop.
But see, to
Like it's
be
just like when
fair,
people say, "Oh,
but
well,
to
I'm
be
an
fair,
artist. I'm not a like," or "I do hip hop. I don't do rap." Nigga, hip hop is the culture. Rap is like one of the pillars of the culture. Like you can't just be like, "Oh, I'm gonna be one and not the other." It's the same shit.
but to be fair, that's how the powers that be at the Grammys feel. How you gonna be adult contemporary hip hop? It's all just hip hop. How you gonna be trap rap? It's still just hip hop. How you gonna be drill rap? It's just hip hop. It's just hip
Well,
hop,
no,
bro.
that's not the difference. Is that's people misunderstanding the culture. Like I mean, matter of fact, both of them are the same in the way that they're both misunderstanding the culture. Like the Grammys misunderstand the culture because they put just everything that they can't really put a finger on. They just throw it in hip hop. They just throw it in R&B. But just like the people who say those things, like I'm a hip hop artist, I'm not a rapper. Like no, nigga, you are a rapper because you don't understand the culture. You don't understand like when they were putting together like Africa Bambaataa damn, I can't remember the name. Oh, the Zulu Nation. They were putting together like what hip hop mean and like the pillars and stuff like that. Like when they were like defining that stuff, they were defining it as you are an MC that is the master of ceremonies that hypes up the crowd, aka a rapper. Like so when people try to make it, that's just like they're just trying to act smarter or talk like sound smarter than they are, but the reality is, nigga, you are a rapper. If you write rhymes, if you write rhymes and you put them together, in a rapping style, then nigga, you are a rapper. I don't care what you try to put, like what other extra sauce you want to put on it. Cool, but underneath all that other bullshit, you are a rapper.
But see, that's what I'm saying. Going back to it, because that's the same thing we were saying about like Roddy Ricch. You know what I mean? How they don't spit bars. They just got like the melodic auto tune, but it still sound rappy. You know what I mean? It might not be bars, but it still sound rappy enough for them to be like, well, it ain't pop music. Let's just call it rap. You know what I mean? And so I feel like if we making the distinction across the subgenres and everything, I feel like we should also be able to make the distinctions individually. Now, don't get me wrong, I do kind of agree that they are relatively interchangeable. You know what I mean? MC, rapper, all that good stuff. I do feel like, personally, I do feel like there are different levels a little bit. You know what I mean? I feel like,
I mean, of course, yeah.
You know, but I feel like it's kind of in the same vein. It's kind of in the same principle where it's like, well, if everybody just a rapper, you know what I mean, then everybody just a rapper. Method Man is just a rapper, and Roddy Ricch is just a rapper.
Different kinds of, like, you can be an artist, but you could be a sculptor, you could be a painter, you could be, there's a lot of different ways to be an artist, but they're still like an artist, like in that art, in that essence, like a visual artist. Gotcha. They're still the same. It's just it just depends on the tools you're using. Like, for rap, it would be like the style that you're doing. Like, there's, you're a conscious rapper because you rap about, conscious things. You're a trap rapper because you rap about the trap rap style. So it's all the same, but you're still a rapper. Like, you just rap about different things, or you make music about different things, but it's still rap at the end of the day. Like, even with a Roddy Ricch, like, if you could say it's kind of like, rappy, you're a melodic rapper, but you're still a rapper.
Gotcha.
So that's why it just, I think it just irritated me because I remember, like, and I was a Jeezy fan, like when he, the Trap or Die stuff and Thug Motivation 101, like, I was a fan, but I would get irritated when he says I'm a hustler, I'm not a rapper, or I'm a trap star, I'm not a rap star. That kind of irked me, cause nigga, you are rapping.
Now I can see it back then though. Like now he's a rapper, but back then when he was first getting going, bro was a trapper that just happened to be rapping. You know what I mean? So
then nigga, you a rapper. Like, yo, I could be like, yo, I got my day job, I got my career, but I'm an Uber driver on the side. Well, nigga, when you are an Uber driver on the side, you're an Uber driver.
Right.
Like, you can't just be like, oh, I'm only doing this to make a little extra money. Nigga, you are an Uber driver until you clock out and you go back to your regular job. And there's nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah, no.
I guess that's the part that kind of got me. It's like they would kind of frame it like it was something to be ashamed of to be a rapper or to call yourself a rapper. Like, nah, I'm only doing this. Yeah, I'm only doing this because, like, there'd be people like Cameron and Jay-Z who used to say, like, I don't need rap. Like, I go back to the streets. Nigga, go back to the streets then.
Yeah, that is disrespectful as fuck.
Like, shit. Like, I want to rap.
Even as a young artist, when they say shit like that, it's like, come on, bro, don't. But shit but that goes back to what Punch was saying about how a lot of us don't respect our own genre.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? When Waka Flocka come out and be like, bro, I don't write, I ain't know, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, but what about the millions of artists that do like pride themselves on crafting these bars one by one? You know what I mean? You just spat in a lot of people's face.
See, that will make me hate on somebody. Like, that, it won't be that I don't like their music. It'd be when I say disrespectful stuff like that about the culture. Then I'm like, all right, man, get this nigga out of here. Like, that'd be the thing to make me go, all right, I'm gonna talk shit about you. Like, I'm gonna, if I don't like your music, all right, cool, whatever. But nigga, you start talking like that, I'm gonna talk shit about you now. I gotta let it be known.
Yeah, that shit's fucked up. Cause it's an art. You know what I mean? It's an art. It's a craft. And I respect anybody that tried. I respect anybody lane. You know what I mean? Especially if you get good at it and you make a name. Like, I know how tough that is. Unless you like an industry plan, you just got it. Like that. But keeping it real, even somebody like Waka Flocka, even though he did have connections and he did have, his mom and everything, he still had to, actually do some things. And now when you look at him after rap, bruh, he making good for himself. You know what I mean? He still got some issues, but he really doing his, he doing his thing behind the cameras without the fame and all that shit. So,
because even the industry plant thing, I don't even really stress about too much because you could be handed everything, but you still got to execute.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of people that were in that same spot that are nowhere to be found now. Like, they dropped something, nobody cared, they didn't have the work ethic. So even though you had the head start, like it still didn't pan out for you. You're a one hit wonder at best.
Yeah, and I also don't. I don't think. I think there's a lot of industry plants, but I don't think it's as rampant yet as
See,
everybody seems to
to be
think it
honest,
is.
I
You
don't
know what I
even know
mean?
what an industry plant is. I think industry plant, when I hear people describe what an industry plant is, it sounds like artist development.
So,
Like it sounds
so
like I didn't have a following, but I had talent. So you signed me. You craft like I hate the whole crafted a backstory for him. Like that's the part that irritates me because that's
yeah,
deceiving. But outside of that, it's just like okay, we taught you how to write songs. We taught you how to dance. We taught you stage presence. We gave you a stylist to create an identity, like a style for yourself. Like that's I don't know. Like that just sounds like artist development. And I think because of the internet, we're so used to people getting a following, getting getting basically
grinding
big
it
on their
out.
own, like grinding,
Yeah.
like making a big name for themselves, then getting signed to the
Yeah.
label. So I don't
Well,
know.
the reason I don't go too hard about the whole industry plant thing is because people pick and choose their industry plans, which ones they're gonna get behind.
Mm-hmm.
Because by definition, Chris Cross was industry plan as hell. These little boys literally got a record deal because they look cool at the mall, and Jermaine Dupri caught
Mm-hmm.
wind, and you know what I mean. They weren't super talented. They weren't out there grinding it out, selling CDs. They just was cool as fuck.
Yeah.
So, but when Jump come on, you know what I mean? When I
Yeah.
Miss the Bus come on, even to this day, you gonna rock to it. Millie Vanilli was industry plans basically, which they got found out, but until then, they literally won a Grammy. You know what I mean? So it's
Mm-hmm.
like people pick and choose they industry plans. So it'd be like, oh, such and such is an industry plant. Yeah, but so was such and such, and you was rocking with them last week. You know what I
I guess it
mean?
depends. I mean, because the people still gotta like pick you at the end of the day. Like
hmm
you can craft this image and like make the songs and they could be dope, but if people don't gravitate to it, then it is what it is. Yeah, Millie Vanilli, that's the deception part that I don't like. So
Yeah,
that's why
yeah,
like with them it's like I know. But Criss Cross, they still had to get in the studio. They still had to go on tour and perform. Like if they still had to like pull up and do what they do. So even if they were industry playing, they still had to put in the work after the fact.
yeah. And that's like you said, that go for anybody. You know what I mean? People now be like, Ice Spice was an industry plant or whatever, but it's like she still got to do 250 days of tour. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Throughout the year, she still got to do these Sprite commercials or whatever the fuck she doing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
She still so yeah, they might have put her there. You know what I mean? But at the same time, they can't keep her there. Like the people still got to go to her concerts and it's only so much shoving marketing in people's faces gonna really do if they don't really rock with it. You know what I mean? So it got to be like you said. Even though I don't personally like it,
Mm-hmm.
apparently there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions, if not billions of people that do rock with it, and
Mm-hmm.
clearly we can see that. So um, I don't know. It's like you said, the whole industry plant thing. It sometimes feels like a cop out. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like it's just kind of the easy thing to say, like, oh, they popped off too quick. They must be somebody must have put them there. Somebody must have put them in the position. Which, yes, sometimes it's true, but at the same time, like you said, people you can't just show up and everybody just be like, I love you just because you're here. You know what I mean? Like they popped you in front of me on my TV and now I'm rocking with you. Like, yeah, some people you're gonna get like that. Let's keep it real.
Mm-hmm.
But the masses, like for millions and millions and millions of people, like I gotta see something I like. Like the Hawk Tour
Mm-hmm.
girl. The Hawk Tour girl, she got big. And when I first seen it, I'm like, man, this is annoying, da 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 da, blah da da. But the more I actually like, she do interviews and stuff like that, and I'm like, she's actually a likable person. Like I'm still kind of over the whole movement or whatever, but
Mm-hmm.
I can see where hundreds of thousands of people might donate to her whatever she got going on or send her stars on Facebook or whatever the case may be because she gonna come and say something likable or donate to Petco or something like that that's gonna make people feel like she's relatable, she's a human, whatever, whatever. So it a lot of it is fickle, man. You know what I mean? Especially nowadays, you can't that 15 minutes of fame. It really just it could come at any time to anybody, and you can't really industry plant this, industry plant that. I mean, technically, if we see somebody on Facebook that's cool and we give you $1 million of this record deal, that's an industry plant. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? By definition, but like you said, they still got to get out there and do the work, and people still got to feel like I
So
like to hop to a girl or whatever. You know?
So in the chat, Megan said the problem, which I didn't even think about this, but that actually I like this point. Like the problem isn't the problem isn't the industry plan; it's who the industry is trying to drive the culture.
That's a
And
good point.
that's a really
That's a
good
good
point.
point.
Yeah, because thinking about that, like, okay, we're putting certain people in positions to succeed, so we can like then use that fame and notoriety to manipulate them, use them to manipulate the masses.
Yeah,
And that point, I like that point because so yeah,
very
that's
valid.
and then it does kind of seem like we're trying to get the people to accept this person because we want them to influence people in a negative way
Yeah.
or what have you. So yeah, I like that point.
Part of that though, I feel like, and a small part, like I feel like the vast majority of it is that they trying to push a certain narrative. You know what I mean? But I feel like also a small part of it goes back to what I was saying about the industry trying to kind of find its way. Because we kind of seeing more and more that even the masses aren't necessarily flocking to certain messages. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Whereas, murder, murder, kill, kill, sell drugs, whatever might have been okay in the 90s. It's starting to not be as okay. Like you can still get them songs out there and get played, but you're not gonna be so apt to get, I feel like what's a good point? Maybe Tupac California Love. Even
Mm-hmm.
though it plays on the radio now, that's because it's had time for people to get used to it and for it to mellow out and calm down. But if it came out today, I don't think it would get the same level of play that it
No.
got then. You know what I mean? Just because of some of the subject matter, some of the topics, some of the concepts that he's talking about in the song. So with that, I lost my train of thought. Had a brain
Nah.
fart that fast.
No, I feel you. I think like people's palates have changed, like,
Yeah.
and especially because now and that's one of the things I guess would be a positive of the internet is that a lot of people don't like. We used to just take people at face value when they said they
Mhm.
were street guys, when they were said they were doing this, that, and the third. Like on one hand, we can see it, or like if we don't see it, then people already kind of see you as like somebody that's not authentic.
Yeah.
Like if there's a certain level of like we don't really see what you're talking about in your music, and it's so easy for you to show us now. But I think
Yeah.
also people are starting to recognize because they can see it that it's more than just like fiction and entertainment. I think a lot of people, even if we took them at face value and like thought of them that way, like because there were no names, there were no faces, we were able to just kind of look past like, oh, okay, if they talk about killer such and such, they don't say anybody's name and they don't like
Yeah.
give any details, so we don't really we don't have to think about it too much. But now, like, I mean, there's people, it's gotten so bad that people are like putting names and dates,
Yeah.
talking like
And
how
make
they
a whole
killed
songs
such and
about the
such.
shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I don't even remember. There was a guy a Florida rapper that died not too long
Um,
ago. He's like 26. I
I'm
think that
thinking about
was
Take. Is it Take
Julio.
Keep? Not Take Keep. Yeah, Fulio.
Yeah,
That's who you talking about. But I'm
yeah.
thinking about not Take Keith. Damn,
I
what's his
think his name is
name?
like TK.
Yeah, something like that. The
Yeah.
young boy who killed somebody and was rapping about it
Mm-hmm.
while he was on the run from the police and all that shit. I'm like, but you see, like back then, like you said, back then it was like it could have been exaggerated. It could have
Mm-hmm.
been them just telling a story, whatever. But now you getting the actual court cases and shit behind it, and the
Mm-hmm.
paperwork coming out, and TMZ got whole exposés on shit, and so now you can see it, and that makes people apprehensive about that. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
especially companies, like when you're trying to get brand deals and stuff like that, talking like music wise,
Yeah.
a lot of companies ain't gonna want to be associated with that. But we're getting to the point now where a lot of just regular people, yeah, you might listen to that in the car on the way to work, trap, bang, bang. But then you get out and go, flip burgers or bag groceries or watch kids at the daycare, or you know what I mean. You ain't
Mm-hmm.
really doing that, so it's only so much you can really relate to it and resonate with it anyway. And
Yeah.
I think people are starting to kind of want more from their music than that.
Yeah, and I think like if you start to realize like, oh, there are actual victims behind some of this stuff,
Hmm.
it starts to like it kind of makes you reevaluate how like why am I listening to this? Why am I like supporting this? Like versus back in the day where we were just kind of treating it like movies. Where it's
Yeah,
like, yeah, like
yeah,
movies that we know that like these people aren't really killing each other. This stuff ain't really happening. So we can just kind of watch it, and then once it's over, we can just move on with our day. Now you have to really reevaluate like what you value as a listener if you're going to listen to stuff, you know, that could be potentially like have real victims behind it.
yeah. Especially when she start having kids and stuff like that. Like
Mm-hmm.
I remember when Cardi B came out with WAP. You know what I mean? And the whole outrage. Oh, what's she teaching the kids and da 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 and blah blah blah. And I just when the arguments would come up, I really couldn't participate because I'm like, my son don't even know what a WAP is. Like we don't.
Yeah.
I don't play that on the radio in the car. You know what I mean? Like there's
Mm-hmm.
some of my own music that I don't play when he's around because I know the subject matter is not suitable for children. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And I feel like more people, especially once you have kids, you start to think about that.
Yeah.
I've definitely
I
started to
definitely have.
get right. I've definitely started to get like in some of my more recent music, I've definitely started to get less graphic. You know what I mean? I
Mm-hmm.
still have my same subject matter and my same concepts and everything, but instead of saying I did this and that with this chick, you know what I mean? There might be a little more nuance. There might be a little
Yeah.
more finesse to it. Maybe a little more innuendo than just explicit. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think more people are starting to think about that because yeah, it's cool. Again, listening to the trap joints on your way to work when it's just you in the car with a Bojangles biscuit. You know what I mean? But when you got two kids in the back seat and you got a little girl in the back seat and she getting impressionable and you got a little boy back there and he's starting to soak up messages and stuff from music and learn lyrics and you start to think about that stuff different. And I
Mm-hmm.
think especially a lot of people our age um, that are, even though we're not necessarily the biggest consumers of music as far as listening, downloading, streaming, we still would probably be the biggest purchasers because we're
Mm-hmm.
the parents now that have to pay for the concert tickets when the
Yep.
kids want to go. You know what I mean? And so we thinking about like okay, yeah, I do rock with the baby. I like, but do I want to send my impressionable 14-year-old daughter to this concert? You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like I don't know about that.
Yeah.
So I think that's where we're at with that. We starting to be a little more discerning, which I think trickles down to the kids a little bit to where they might not have heard something more readily as we might have, and now they might not be so into it when they do hear it. Like, okay, that's a cool beat, but I don't really click with the subject. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And I think, like you said, taste change and people have grown up and you're starting to see some of the realities. We're not even gonna just say victims, but we're gonna see some of the realities of it,
Mm-hmm.
of what's really behind some of these tales and these songs. And I think people are like, okay, that's cool sometimes, but I also want to hear something that got a little more, not even necessarily positivity, but just a little more relatability. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
the
hear songs,
reality.
right? I hear songs like it was one joint I seen on a Facebook ad or something where dude um yeah, it was a song about like him hating his job or something like that. You
Ah,
know
that's
what I
dope.
mean? And I'm like, bro, you got me. Like, I'm gonna go listen to this a couple of times because my job killing me inside. So it's relatable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas I'm not slanging keys. I ain't got no yacht with a bunch of chicks. I go to work. So
That's why like Fonte's one of my favorite rappers
yeah,
because he even from the beginning it just felt like he knew how to make regular life sound so dope. Like he would put the rhymes together and it's just about regular everyday shit. It's not like super conscious or nothing like that. Like no deep thinking, but it's not on no street stuff. It's just, yo, I'm a regular dude with regular problems. I talk to women the regular way. Like I have a wife, I have kids, and
yeah,
like I'm going through day to day. It's nothing like too crazy, just so relatable. But he was able to make it sound so dope because of
that's
how he rhymed and like put his words together. So
that's an art.
that's the kind of stuff that like I respect a lot, and especially I mean I loved it then, but even now, like as I'm a father, as I'm a husband, like that I don't want to hear all that other shit. Like those fantasies, because half the time I know you niggas not even really living that shit for real.
Right.
Some of the rappers are older now, and they're like, y'all have been rich longer than y'all have been broke at this point. Like I don't want
Yeah.
to hear the street fantasies from you
Yeah.
anymore. What's going on? Like, I don't want to keep bringing it back to Drake and Kendrick, but like that was kind of one of the things that separated the two. Like one grew up and one like talks about being a family man and stuff like that, and you actually see the growth from when he started to now with who he is as a person, and the other person that sounded the same from
Yeah.
the very beginning, and now it's like a decade and some change later and you still on the same shit, and people tune out and they're not really as into what you got to say anymore because there's been no progression, there's no development, there's nothing for me as I grow up to still like really want to pull from you anymore.
Exactly. And we also the generation below us is coming into adulthood too.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I think about Gen Z and I'm still thinking high school, you know what I mean, whatever, but
Nah.
they actually, yeah, they grown, you know what I mean? Like not grown yet, but they are adult. Like there's a good sect of them that are legally adults and you know what I mean, can purchase their own music and own concert tickets, and they're also starting to shy away from the shoot 'em up bang bang stuff, you
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean, because it's just don't really, it's not relatable. So it's just a shift there, and I feel like going back to the whole industry plan thing about how they're trying to push a narrative,
Mm-hmm.
and going back to how I was saying is partially that little bit where they don't quite know, because that did sell. You know what I mean? Cardi
Mm-hmm.
B still will sell records,
Mm-hmm.
regardless. Um, but I think because more people are starting to get a little more discerning with what they're listening to, it's going to be a little bit harder to, get Ice Spice tour that's going to sell out to the level of a Taylor Swift,
Mm-hmm.
or a Sexy Red tour that's going to sell out to the level of a Ed Sheeran. Not because they're not, which I'm not huge fans of their music, Ice Spice and Sexy Red, but I'm not gonna act like they're not. I'm not gonna act like I don't see why, like I don't see their appeal. You know what I mean? It's not for me. It's not for me.
Yeah.
That's what I concede. I concede that is not for me. But I could probably point out 3 chicks in my neighborhood right now that's gonna rock Sexy Red just because how she come off, and so
But what we're talking about, I think that might have something to do with going back to the original topic, why music isn't segmented as much
yeah,
as it is,
yeah,
because if you allow these other genres to shine on, I mean, these other subgenres of hip hop to shine on their own, I think it would it's in certain aspects, certain artists that are being pushed, and certain narratives that are being pushed, it will kind of expose, you know, that hey, there's other aspects of hip hop that I can rock with, and
mm-hmm.
if those other types of hip hop get a light shined on them like that, where oh well, there's a whole nother chart, there's a whole nother radio station, there's a whole nother award show or whatever, right? That's like dedicated to, let's just say adult contemporary hip hop. Other
Mm-hmm.
people might flip the channel and like look over there and be like, oh, I might, I'm not really into the stuff that is like the quote unquote mainstream. Maybe
Yeah,
I'll go over there. And then that hurts whatever agendas they're trying to push. Because now
yeah,
there's another, there's another option that a lot of people don't really know. Like, as popular as Kendrick is, there's a lot of people that didn't really know, that hadn't really listened to Kendrick until the beef. And then I'm seeing people saying, though, I'm hearing like these a Good Kid, Mad City, and To Pimp a Butterfly, and Damn for the first time, and they're falling in love with it, and they're like, "Yo, I was asleep. I had no idea what I was
yeah,
missing this whole time." And I feel like that would be what we would see in a lot of situations if adult contemporary hip hop was segmented on its own, or like conscious rap and trap or drill or melodic rap, like that was on its own category. And I think we could see a little bit of that. So that might be a little bit of why we don't really see it segmented like that.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I do think I feel like it'll come. You know what I mean? I feel like now
Mm-hmm.
that this is kind of the start, like these talks where people have these conversations and trying to figure it out is kind of where it trickles up a little bit because now more like the more people that talk about it, it's gonna be like, well, that does kind of make sense, and we kind of and I feel like it at least try it. You know what I mean? At
Mm-hmm.
least try it. If it don't work, just go back to calling everybody hip hop. I guess let's just put the blanket back on. You know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's at least give it a shot and see how it goes. Like I said, you never know what the ramifications could be 10 years, 20 years, 50 years into hip hop and we got subgenres and now there's a
Mm-hmm.
subgenre of the subgenre and all like you don't really know, but
Yeah.
I feel like at least give it a shot. I feel like it would give more people a fighting chance, you know what I mean? Just in across the board, it might give some of the older cats a fighting chance, it gives some of the younger cats a fighting chance. I also feel like it would I'm a little worried about the division aspect of it because I realize it would definitely split for the most part along demographic lines to an
Mm-hmm.
extent. You know what I mean? To where the more mainstream hip hop would still probably be the more mainstream hip hop
Mm-hmm.
because that's what their lane is, you know what I mean? So and then in that aspect it would kind of compartmentalize other hip hop, you know what I mean? So where you got the mainstream, I don't know what would you call it. I guess that would just become just hip
Yeah,
hop, right?
that was like the thought I had too, where I would, on the con side, where it's like, well, what does the mainstream hip hop get called? Like, is it just hip hop? Is it
Right.
like modern hip hop, or like what would we call that? And then depending on what you name that, like the I guess quote unquote mainstream stuff, and you try to highlight that more as just hip hop, then
Yeah.
it does kind of make any other subgenres seem kind of lesser than or
Secondary,
like an
yeah.
outlier or something. So
Yeah.
yeah, that is one thing to think about. But I think when I kind of weigh them both, like I weigh the pros and the cons, I just feel like what do we have to lose at this point to try to
Yeah.
do it? Because right now we're this way where like you know Killer Mike puts out a phenomenal album, sweeps the Grammys, and there are a lot of people like, yo, who is that? Why is such and such winning the Grammys over and why is they winning the Grammys over like Travis Scott and stuff like that? And I think those kind of conversations don't happen if we let everybody shine in their own lane, like they like because yeah, like why are we all lumped under this one category when every rapper here doesn't even talk to the same age group, they don't talk to the
Right.
same demographics, and I'm like I just and then somebody like LL will put out an amazing album and it won't even chart or something like that because then he's not quote unquote mainstream
Yeah.
something like. But if he's on the chart with Common and like a Jay Z or a Nas and artists of that age, then they'll have at least their own space to shine, and they're not completely ignored by the powers that be, like that just want to highlight their industry plans, their young up and comers and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I feel like that, but I know it does have its drawbacks, like everything does. But I feel like looking at it like that, I got high hopes for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I I have slightly high hopes for it. Like I think it could be a good thing once they iron it out and get,
Mm-hmm.
figure out what it's gonna be and what it's gonna look like and what the landscape is gonna look like. Um there could be drawbacks, but I really think overarching it would be a good thing. I had another point that was rolling off of what you were saying, but I forgot what it was. I don't know, maybe it'll come back, but I definitely think this could be a good thing. I definitely think if nothing else, experiment with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? See how it goes. See what we come up with. If it don't work, I guess you could always go back. It's always harder to go back than it is to go forward. But I feel like they could. If it goes wrong, you could fix it if you wanted to. I feel like there's agendas behind it. I feel like music is just trying to find this direction. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like in the sense of award shows, I don't know how prevalent they gonna be in the coming years and in the upcoming future. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
20 years from now, if unless something changes. But as of right now, looking at the trajectory, um, they're not the phenomenon that they used to be. Like the MTV Awards would come around, or the Oscars would come around, the Emmys. Like people would flock. You know, these were like yearly cultural events, and now it's kind of like you might get the you get the clips on and the sound bites online after the fact. You might not even known it was coming on TV or whatever. You might not even
Yeah.
have known when it was coming, and then you getting clips and oh damn, they did the Grammys. I ain't even know Killer Mike won. That's what's good. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it used to be you was watching when Killer Mike won, and you would be at school or at work or whatever the next day, like bro, you see that. It's not like that anymore. So I don't even know with the subcategories and everything. I think that might be more so for charting or
Yeah.
for streaming more so than the awards in the coming years, because they don't have the impact that they used to. And then with a lot of what we getting out of streaming recently, I don't know. I really feel like we should kind of be looking to what's next after that. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
Because that's kind of going a little haywire here lately.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's definitely a movement of people that's like kind of. I mean, including myself, like that's just trying to get away from that habit of
Yeah,
streaming and stuff. Like, I don't think for artists and for the industry as a whole, I don't think it's a viable option anymore. Like we
yeah,
tried it, and the payouts have stayed the same. On Spotify and other people making billions on top of billions, investing in podcasts, investing in all this other stuff, but do not invest in the artists that built their platform. So it's like we shouldn't even really like my last album ain't even on any type of streaming because I said
and
yeah we just not. I'm not even dealing with that.
and the biggest overarching that I've taken away from streaming is, and that's why I say I think it was supposed to just be a stopgap. Like I don't think it was ever supposed to be the main solution, but just
Hmm.
the way it's gone, it seems like, um, damn, my point went away again. Um, with it was supposed to be a stopgap because it don't seem like the main solution. Um, oh, I forgot my point, man. Totally, I hate when it happens.
Yeah, it's all good, man. We've been here for a minute.
Yeah,
Uh, but yo, I appreciate you pulling up, man. Like
for
this was
sure.
a great conversation. Like
Oh
I'm
yeah,
really happy you was able to make it. Like we had the technical issues in the beginning, but we got it together. We had the show, and it was great. And this was a great episode to end off on, man.
for
Any
sure.
last words you want to get to the people before we wrap up?
Um, I mean that's super special. Of course, I got a plug. You know what I mean. I got the new
Yeah.
album dropping on Friday. It could all be so simple. The album release party, 1333 Grove Street, Greensboro, North Carolina. Um, Honestly, my message lately has just been just keep doing the things you love. Like, don't ever stop doing the things that you love. Like, I know we got life, we got
Mm.
problems, we got bills, we got kids, we got fucked up sleep patterns, and you know what I mean. But the stuff that you enjoy doing, whether it makes money or not, whether as long as it brings you some damn joy in this world, especially nowadays, just keep doing it. Find some time to do it. Wait till after everybody go to bed, or as long as it's something positive and something that'll keep your head on straight, man. Find time to do the things that you love, man. Even if I don't care how old you are. If you like playing with Lego blocks, man, find you some time to get some Legos, video games,
That's real though.
cooking, like whatever it may be, taking pictures, drawing, whatever it may be, rapping. Just keep
Mm.
doing it. Even if you don't have no audience, even if you ain't trying to make money from it, even if you don't care if nobody ever sees it, just keep doing it, man, because it's tough. You got to hold on to the things you love these days, man.
Yo, that's dope. Yeah, yo, that's a great message to be behind. I was thinking in my
Yeah.
head like, damn, you gonna say that right before I'm about to take a break from the podcast. But like,
But
it's
that's part of it
temporary.
too,
Yeah,
right? That's part of it too, because if you keep doing it, you're gonna burn out, and then you're not gonna want to ever do it again. So take a break, get some perspective, learn some new things. You might, come back even stronger. So that's part of it too. Self care.
yo, facts. Well, yo, like good luck with the show, man. I'm definitely gonna be checking out the album when it drops on Friday.
For sure.
Uh, oh yeah, so you putting it on streaming and stuff?
Um,
Like just let
so I am gonna put it on streaming. I have my plan. I am gonna be moving away from streaming probably next year. My plan is to drop this album, and then I have an EP that I'm gonna try to drop before the end of the year, and that's gonna be it for me and streaming. I just wanted to kind of shore up my catalog on there, and then I'm gonna kind of let the internet take care of the internet. You know what I mean? I might
Yeah.
maybe run some ads to the music or whatever. But my efforts, I think, are gonna go more like kind of your way. I'm gonna go more real world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've been putting up posters and passing out flyers and putting stuff on CD and talking to people in person, and it's just a lot more richer. Like I might not be reaching 20 million people every time I click something, but the interactions and the communications that I've been having this year outside of social media have been so much more rich and progressive and productive and meaningful. And I don't know, I'm going that way. I'd rather talk to 20 people face to face that I can actually dap up and tell thank you rather than, 2,000 people like a random reel and I ain't never gonna hear from them again the next day, so that's where I'm at.
Yo, yeah, man. And like I definitely felt it with my album, man. Like I'm glad I went this direction. But yo, man, this has been 1430 live. Been the homie, the Fat Boy.
So
Been your boy
no.
Vinny Dangerous. And stay tuned on the channel because I'm definitely gonna be posting updates and stuff like that. But as of right now, I need a little break. I need a recharge. But I'll be back in full force when the time is right. But until next time, much love.